So temperature readout in the truck is saying 55, which means spring has arrived in New Hampshire. So, couple things. My brother just moved, or is moving, in the process of buying a house in New Hampshire, which is awesome. And we used to ride a little bit back in the day, and about 4 years ago I sold my last bike, and I've definitely missed it, but I wasn't riding it that much, and I didn't really have anybody up here to ride with, so it wasn't horrible. But now that he's moved back, I think it makes sense to go pick up a little scooter here. And I'm not about to go shell out big money on a new bike, because that's not what my channel does. That's not what I do. We're going to try to find a really good deal on a good bike. And the best place that I can possibly think of to do that is to go to Argo. And for those of you that don't know, Argo is, I think, one of the biggest salvage bike places, definitely in New Hampshire. I don't know, maybe even across the country. I don't know. And we're here. Yeah, this place is awesome. Huge selection of easily repairable vehicles, which is kind of important. You can find really bad salvage vehicles just about anywhere, but finding ones that are easy to repair, that's a little bit tougher. Oh baby, let's get the biggest, highest horsepower machine in here. No, not really. Listen, I've been there and I've done that. I'll show you some of my previous bikes, including, probably the pinnacle would be 200 horse at the rear wheel, extended swing arm Hayabusa. That thing was just a beast. But you know what, to tell you the truth, I'm not really that interested in that anymore. I am looking today for something cheap that is a light, no stress Canyon Carver, just a fun bike to enjoy the ride. I've got nobody to impress. I just want to get back out on two wheels, do it in comfort, and have something that's super snappy and just, like I said, low stress cruiser. So we're going to be looking for just that, and I want a cruiser, but unfortunately with my back surgery history, that position where your legs are out kind of in front of you, it's just not good for my back. So I am going to have to go back to a sport bike, but that's okay. That's the best riding position for me, and you know what, from a weight standpoint, it's going to make for a lighter bike. It'll be more fun in the corners anyway, so I think that's what we're going to look at. And I think I just found what I'm looking for. So this is a 14 Kawasaki 300R, and the R is for racing, which is ironic because there's a 300 in front of it, which kind of negates the racing. But either way, this is exactly what I'm looking for. It's perfect. And now we just got to see if we can come to an agreement here on the price and see how bad the damage is, and we'll go from there. $2,200 is going to take this bike home. That is a sore dick deal. You can't beat it. Well, I'll go over the damage and some of the additional details with you once we get it home, but for right now, let's just get her loaded up on the trailer. It does a friggin' burnout. What else do you need? All right, so let's see how we did on our salvage bike, and let's see why it's a salvage bike. As you can see, it's in really nice shape. But the thing to keep in mind with these is on a 300 like this, it doesn't take a whole lot of damage, I'm gonna guess, for an insurance company to total it out, because it's not a very expensive bike. I wanna say in 2014, this was probably about 5 grand, maybe 6, somewhere in there. I didn't look it up, so if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments, but a $6,000 bike, it doesn't take much once it's used to total it out. And the other part of that is I've heard that insurance companies aren't real keen on repairing bikes, you know, putting somebody on 2 wheels and sticking them back out on the road, so they're more likely to total out a bike than they would a comparable car. So let's see what made this thing a total. As you can see, obviously it's actually really in good shape. The windscreen is really gashed up, but I mean, not from hitting anything, it just seems like poor care. But we're gonna be able to, we may actually have to wet sand out some of these. Yeah, that's a deep gash right there. We're gonna have to wet sand out some of those, and then we'll put the wheel to it, and you'll be amazed at how nice that will come back out. Go down the right-hand side, looking at the fairings, there is 0 damage whatsoever on the upper fairing. And all we really have is just this one scratch on the lower fairing. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to get that out, but I can almost guarantee you I can make it look a whole lot better than that. Going down, no damage to the frame whatsoever. Exhaust, a few scratches here, but a little bit of mothers on a polish wheel should be able to clean that right up. But yeah, no real damage here whatsoever. Really no scratching. Taking a look at the seat and the side fairings going towards the rear fairings. We just got some marks here and there. I just spray waxed this just to see what would come off loosely and then what was really a mark. But all of these little guys, hopefully you can see, yep, there you go. All of these little things, we're gonna be able to pop that right off with a wheel and some compound. It'll look good as new. Going around the back here, no real damage. Well, actually, yeah, we got a little bit of damage on this, and this is like a rubberized coating. So I don't know what we're gonna do about that, and it's definitely sitting, I think, out further than it should be. But we'll take a look at that. The taillight's been hit by something pretty good, and that's an easy fix too. We'll probably start with like a 1500 grit sandpaper, wet sand. We'll take it down to 2000 or so, and then we'll use the same compound, polishing compound, and we will make that basically, should just about disappear. And down the right hand side of the fairings, same thing, got a little bit of damage, just everyday nicks and bumps and stuff. That will come right out. Gonna need a little bit of touch up. We got a little bit of paint damage there. Not a big deal. Frame wise on the left hand side, excellent shape. No damage, no marks from it going down until we get to our shifter. So again, I don't know what happened to this thing because there's not enough damage on the fairings to show that it went down, but it's, as you see, it's completely missing the left hand foot controls, foot peg, shifter. You saw me riding it, but I literally was just holding the clutch and I yanked it into gear. I could only drive it in first. So I was really just looking for a canyon carving, low stress, super fun, easy bike, no worries. Something I can let other people ride too and not worry about them killing themselves. This fits that bill real well. I've had, again, 200 horsepower at the rear wheel bikes before. I'm not worried about the size of my pecker. I'm happy to throw a leg over a 300, which is basically a scooter with fast-looking plastics on it. But it's a good time. And you're not as embarrassed as the guy riding a scooter. But at any rate, I've already ordered a replacement set, and actually I got a full set left and right, because if I was going to order one, it ended up being almost, maybe another 30 bucks. I just went with an anodized red aluminum kind of racing set of foot controls for left and right. I think the red's going to look really nice because there's a little bit of red accenting in on the wheels. I think that'll tie that all in and should look really nice. Paid about 110 bucks, 120 bucks, something like that, shipped. So that'll be in a few days, and we'll get that on there, and then I can actually really take the bike for a ride. The major fairings here, the upper fairing, perfect condition, not a mark on it. We get down to the bottom fairings here, and we definitely have a little bit of damage. So here's where I start going, the damage is, you know, right up to the top of this fairing piece where it meets this one. So my guess is this fairing has been replaced. I don't know why. Like I said, it was a salvage bike. Why they would replace one fairing, it makes no sense, but there's no way you damage this right at the edge and you don't at least nick this piece. So I have to assume that this is a new fairing. To further evidence that, our fit and finish here between this panel is not as tight. The seam obviously not as tight as it is on that side. So it wasn't put together quite properly. But if you look past that and you can look in, you can see the frame. Well, I can see the frame, you probably can't, but you're gonna see the frame because we're gonna rip a lot of this plastic off pretty soon. But at any rate, there's no inner damage beyond this fairing, but I have a feeling that's a new fairing. I just have no idea who paid for it or how it got on this bike. But we also have a little bit of damage on the clutch, end of the clutch lever here, so I don't know whether they just sideswipe something and rip the gear off, because no tank damage. I don't see it going completely down, and they would have had to replace all of this upper fairing and headlights as well. I don't see that happening. So I think they just maybe brushed a wall or a high curb or something like that, but I don't believe the bike went down, which is great. Great for us. And then we're back around to the front where there's really zero damage other than the windshield that's going to need to be cleaned up and buffed out. If we look up at the top here, all of our running gear is great. Actually, I really like the gauge setup on this. They're pretty slick. It gives you everything you need to know. And then I was reading the manual on it last night for fun, and they're just making these bikes so easy for people to learn now. I'd never even heard of a neutral lockout or a neutral assist. But this bike, when you're at a full stop, when you go to click up, it won't let you click up into second. It stops you and automatically puts you right into neutral. So for newbies, that's a really cool feature. I never even thought of that. I've never had that on any of my past bikes, but it's a really, really nicely laid out bike. The tank is in kind of beat up shape, and again, not from an accident, but just from poor care. We had some really bad marring in here. Actually, this I just touched up with some black paint. I'm gonna have to hit it again and build it up a little higher. Did the same thing right here. Last night I just touched it up with paint. We're gonna wet sand that down as flat as we can get it, and same thing with this one. Then we'll come back, we'll cut it, buff it, and see how much of that fine scratching we can make disappear. My guess is we're gonna make quite a bit of it disappear, so that's awesome. Seats are in excellent shape, hardly any wear. The bike's got 3,000 miles on it, so no surprise there. Whoever had it before me must have been a real racer. They deleted the factory mirrors and they put on the little end bar mirrors. And they looks like they must have, I'm guessing there should have been some badging on there that isn't there anymore, which I'm okay with. I probably would have debadged it too. So that saved me a step. Wheels are beautiful. Actually, really like the wheels. They're pretty cool. I don't think you can get away with wheels this thin on a 200 horsepower bike, but on one like this that puts out about 40 horse, no problem. Really cool, really slick. They're so thin it almost looks like the rim is just kind of floating in space. So there you have it. So now I'm just gonna sit down and order the parts that we need to get this thing back in shape, and next video I will be stripping down all the plastics off it. We're gonna fix some of that paint work, we're gonna buff the plastics and make it all nice and pretty. I also want to make sure that it is safe, so we'll pull everything apart, take a look inside, and make sure she is like a Swedish virgin, good and tight. But as always, I want to thank you all for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see the next video in this series. And as usual, have a great day. Oh, and any questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms, as always, make sure you throw them down in the comment section right there below me. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.